You might think you sound like, but when other people hear you play, most noobs and intermediates aren't aware of the mistakes they're making. Like someone who thinks they're dancing like Michael Jackson, but they're closer to Michael Cera. And here's the thing, they're almost always the same mistakes. I watched 107 beginner bass videos, and they all made at least one of these 5 mistakes. But fear not, by watching these students fix their mistakes, you'll build awareness. And that awareness lets you instantly fix your technique so people stop cringing. No more dad dancing vibes for you, just rock solid grooves. Starting with the 5th most common mistake, which there's a 1 in 3 chance you're making. Can you see what Mike is doing here that my professional hand is not doing? Or what Victoria's hand is doing that my hand isn't? Did you catch it? It's mistake number 5, squish hand. Beginners often have their fingers squished together like this because they're hyper-focused on just the note that they're currently playing. But then the whole hand can only reach 1 or 2 frets without shifting, and most bass lines use at least 3. So you might gracefully nail I Want You Back in your fantasy world, but your overcompressed squish hand wrecks it with unnecessary shifts and sloppy, buzzy notes. Idiot. Check out Rocco Prestia of Tower of Power, who famously didn't stretch his fingers very far. Even he has his fingers in a less compressed, more relaxed position, reaching a 3-fret span minimum. If Rocco was doing squish hand, it might sound like this. Plus, it's really awkward to play this way. So you should super stretch your hand to solve this, right? Then you can shred like Jaco Pastorius and reach 4 or even 5 frets at a time without shifting.
Now this is all without moving my hand once.
But nope. For non-shred bass playing, that's way overcorrecting. To solve squish hand, you just need this simple method that's barely even a method. Step 1, get your strap and neck angle high enough to comfortably plop your hand like this on the neck. Notice your hand can probably span 3 frets with no effort, especially higher on the neck. And step 2, if you can even call it a step, just keep that natural sweet spot position and don't let your fingers pile on each other when you start playing. I've got more detailed resources on how to fix all the mistakes in this video in the free PDF linked in the description. And by making these simple tweaks, Mike was able to significantly de-scrunch his hand from this to this. And Victoria cut down the amount of shifting needed to reach those low frets. But just de-scrunching your hand isn't going to save you from the shame of bad technique. Let's see if you can spot the 4th most common mistake that 42% of noobs made. Well, spot is the wrong word, because the technique looks fine, but how does it feel? Did you catch it? We're dealing with rocky rhythm. So what's going on here? Do some people just not have rhythm? Well, I did find this study on a dude who's apparently beat deaf, but that's one person. In my experience teaching thousands of students over many years, I still firmly believe that anyone can develop good rhythm. And that you should, because bad rhythm can literally ruin any bass line. Check out John Deacon hitting super tight rhythm as always on Under Pressure. If I take his bass track and scoot some notes around to mess up the rhythm, now the song is completely ruined and he sounds like a noob. That was fun, let's do it again. Here's Pearl Jam's Jeff Ament killing it on Jeremy. Rocky the rhythm up. And now it's more like Pearl Scam. God damn it, I'm good. Make sure you click like and subscribe for more sick bass zingers. Luckily, there are a couple easy ways to instantly unrocky your rhythm. First, if you take a song you're struggling with and find the tempo that you're currently working at, try slowing it down. The extra time to focus will help you stumble less. But I know you don't want to do that because it's boring, so on to tip number 2. You can clean up your rhythm act by listening harder to the drums. The more of your head you fill with drums and less thinking about your own playing, you'll magically start playing in the groove with no practice. But even with your rhythm tight and your hand unsquished, you can still be making catastrophic playing errors. So can you spot the 3rd most common mistake that 49 of the 107 beginners made? John's making it here. See the stone set in versus me playing the same thing. I'll give you a hint this time. Listen for the bass volume in Andrea's playing versus mine. Did you catch it? It's mistake number 3, uneven plucking. It happens to everyone early on, and it's one of the most common questions I've fielded from students of my Beginner to Badass course. It might have sounded subtle to you in those clips before, but if you're uneven plucking at a real jam or gig, you can feel the volume changing in the between every note that you, and it feels bad. Check out Joe Dart killing it on Deantown. You can feel how evenly every bass pluck is hitting your body. It feels really good, and it sets him apart from people who try to play like him. And how easy it is to ruin this bass line just by plucking uneven volume. Even with decent rhythm, it just sucks. You'll hear some teachers tell you that this mistake will go away naturally with time and practice. The problem with that advice is it's extremely true, but just kind of boring for YouTube because you need quick fixes so you don't go click on that really cool woodworking video over there. So here's the move. Don't just try to vaguely even out your plucks. Do what Joe Dart is doing and intentionally accent the strong plucks, like the first of every 4, or whatever makes sense on your bass line. This is key for sounding extra funky, but it'll also help you develop the control you need to play evenly in any style. And I've got an even quicker fix if you really don't want to practice. Check out Ian Hill's isolated bass on You've Got Another Thing Comin'. This track blows me away. You hear how even his attack is? You can shortcut your way to that level of evenness by plucking with only one finger, which emulates how Ian Hill is using only downstrokes with the pick. Man, your plucking sounds great. Did you take the Beginner to Badass course over at bassbuzz.com that teaches you bass step by step from the ground up with thousands of 5-star reviews? Nah, I just watched this video we're in right now and faked it. With these simple tips, John was able to get his plucking volume much more even, from this to this. Andrea did the same and got her Green Day sounding much stronger. Okay, quiz time. Can you see the second most common mistake that 51% of noobs made? There's a 1 in 2 chance you're doing this, and it's maybe the biggest clue that you've got a case of noob hands. Can you see what Julian is doing here that my hand is avoiding here? Here's one more. I'll zoom in on the problem area to help you out. What's Matt doing here that my hand isn't? Did you catch it? It's good old flying fingers. Why do we all struggle with this annoying issue? Well, think about it. As an average human with no special practice, would you expect yourself to hold a scalpel with surgical precision? Or to aim and fire in a fast-paced shooting game with also surgical precision? We know from scientific studies and common sense, people don't have great finger independence when they're untrained. So there's nothing wrong with you if you're making this mistake, but the cost is still huge. Every time a finger flies, you're wasting energy with excess tension and making it harder to play coordinated fast notes. Plus, you might be flipping off the audience. Check out Victor Wooten showing us how clean fretting technique is done. His non-flying fingers are always ready for the next move. But if I try to play the same bass line with flying fingers, it's really rough to get my fingers in place in time. And there are more clanky transition noises and also problems with ringing strings. And it's not just virtuoso shredders who avoid flying fingers. Here's session legend Lee Sklar tearing up his bass line on Phil Collins' Sussudio. His fingers stay right on the neck, ready to rock, and muting any ringing strings. And by the way, you can watch Sklar tell stories and play his classic bass lines in over 1,000 videos on his YouTube channel. Link in the description. If I play the same bass line with flying fingers, there's string noise that would not fly in a recording session. Plus, I look dorky, and my beard isn't as good. To solve flying fingers, there are 2 simple tricks. The first is to ditch excess tension, which you can test out in 2 minutes flat with the minimum viable pressure exercise I lay out in many BassBuzz videos, which again are linked in the PDF below. The second trick is build awareness, which you do every time you look at your hand and notice you have flying fingers. If in that moment you can drop to minimum viable pressure and then try to get a tiny bit less flying, like maybe 5%, you'll build up incremental gains without breaking a sweat. And someday your technique will be so efficient, you'll be able to play without even moving your fingers. Matt tried these tricks and got his hand from flipping the bird mode to much less flying. Okay, time to spot the most common mistake that 59% of noobs made. What David is doing here that I deeply refuse to do here. It's the mistakiest mistake of all, pinky neglect. Every bass player knows the pinky feels super weak when you first start playing. And it makes sense, when have you ever used your pinky in isolation in your real life. Ow. But the pinky is actually an important part of your overall grip strength. You might think your technique is just fine without the pinky, but avoiding it leads to weird hand angles and just less efficient fingerings. Almost every pro bassist with chops uses their pinky a lot, whether it's Jocko jazz shreds or Carol Kaye laying down grooves in a relaxed 3-fret span. You could play the same groove without the pinky, and it would sound the same, but after 5 minutes, this would really hurt my hand. Now, before you flame comment, check out this Chris Squire clip where he flagrantly breaks this rule. The dude's basically thumbing his nose right at me. He's got his pinky totally off the neck, which you can see sets up that slanty finger angle. But he's the demigod Chris Squire. Clearly, he compensated for this inefficiency in technique with lots of practice and talent. But if you want to set up your mortal hands for max efficiency and lowest risk of injury, try swapping in the pinky where you might be compensating with the ring finger. So don't play the minor scale like this. Play it like this. Don't play box-shaped bass lines like this. Play them like this. Okay, want to just fix all these mistakes? I've got a simple music-based exercise in a special Practice This Daily video that I cooked up for you. And it is decidedly more interesting than the remainder of this video, wherein I callously continue to pretentiously and ponderously pontificate upon a numerous number of splendid subjects, wherein and henceforth hereto I